Good morning, world. We are live with Bruce and Matthew. How's it going, guys?
We are live. Good morning, David. How are you?
Yeah, good morning to
Fantastic.
you. Yeah, great stuff. You're looking bright, and pleasure to be here. Thank you again.
Top of the morning. I know we are live across Texas. Good morning, Texas, 5 a.m. Thanks for spending your morning with us. And of course, everybody who is also joining worldwide on our stream. It is the world is actually absolutely going crazy. There's stuff going on all over the place, and it's just crazy times. And one of the things that hopped out at me over the last 12 hours was, of course, now we have Kim Jong-un in the mix. Kim Jong-un, and he's threatening nuclear war. My gosh. Now, of course, this is Finance in the morning, okay? Finance in the morning, Impact.live. You can watch us there as well, live, but Finance in the morning. But, oh, man, all this stuff affects your finances. And when you have, somebody like that, threatening stuff, and in a lot of ways, it might do good because, of course, the military-industrial complex is really running our economy. It has been for quite a while, it seems. A lot of money in that. I can tell you that some of the things, and we'll play some of the stuff that we have before, some of the interviews and whatnot. But we've been at some of the warfare conferences and stuff like that, and it is big business. So it does affect the bottom line, but you want to be pay attention to what is going on to make sure that you are able to make the right moves and profit, because things go up a lot and other things don't. And of course, the printing press goes burr, right? As they say, and they print it digitally and they print it as well in just the you never actually they print it that you hold, and then they print it digitally too. So it's totally different. So David, I know you're out there in Portugal. And Portugal is a bit of a different setup. You guys have, though, I think, gone through some stuff recently. What's the sentiment out there?
The sentiment is progressing. We have a good community of developers here, so we keep them busy, and we're pushing a few platforms forward, and we're able to really utilize most of Europe through Portugal. And so we actually have a pretty good system here. If you're capable of doing something, you're able to plant yourself here and really push your project forward. So the sentiments in Portugal is pretty good. Everybody, I think they're keeping the stockpile full for the holidays. We don't need anybody freaking out too much during December. So it's actually going pretty well.
Well, that is kind of funny, right? We're here, of course, in Just Gagnon and just crypto. That's right, man. Crypto is the way to go. I got a comment, I think, from Twitter. It's funny because, of course, here in America, we're close to Latin America, right? That's why we call it Latin America. But and the Latinos, man, they love their Christmas. They love their Christmas. And so we're working on different things, and we're like, gosh, why haven't these guys started yet? And I had to tell one of our partners, like, listen, man, this is Christmas, okay? Like last week, it was 2 weeks before Christmas. It's already December, and I was like, and then we're gonna have a week or two. So probably, if we're lucky, it's gonna be mid January before things can get kicked off there. They take these things very seriously, and I feel like Portugal is one of those types of places as well. They really like to. They're focused on family. They're focused on their time together, and they really enjoy their holidays, especially Christmas and Easter.
Yeah, across Europe, we're
Absolutely.
very serious about Christmas. Yeah, so same in the UK. We pretty much shut down from early December, and we don't get going again till after the first week in January. So we're just enjoying ourselves. But crypto goes on no matter what. So as David was saying, particularly in Portugal, Portugal is a real crypto hub. It's one of the bright spots in the world. There's a few bright spots, and Portugal is one of them. So never stops.
Well, You bring up a really good point. One, yeah, of course, the Europe really does like their holidays. I know in Europe they have had historically a longer time for vacation than the U.S. I was always jealous of that, but I think it has been tightening up a little bit. But Portugal is one of these places now. Portugal is providing tax haven, right? And other different incentives for companies to come there and to set up their companies and everything else. We spent some time over there this summer. It was a lot of fun, really, last summer rather. And of course, David is there now. But it's quite interesting. And the thing about Portugal as well is, even though every once in a while they say, okay, we're going to change this, we're going to change that. It seems that it takes a long time to change anything. How is that? I mean, you're over there in the UK. How are the sentiments on Portugal?
I mean, Portugal is really an innovative place, and they are moving very well on crypto. I mean, when you're talking about different hotspots and crypto hotspots around the world, I mean, obviously, our company has a big presence in Dubai, and Dubai is one of those places which, again, Portugal is a great hotspot within Europe. Dubai in the Middle East, and again, they're really proactive. They really, move very, very quickly with bringing in the regulation, and you'll see all the main crypto companies now coming into Dubai. And there's these different places. The UK is a little bit slower in adopting. Hopefully, they will come around. But at the moment, we're seeing all the focus on. We hear Portugal over and over and over again, and that's where a lot of the conferences are as well. I mean, we just had one in Lisbon, didn't we? A worldwide conference, fintech conference, I think it was. So yeah, it's good for their economies. This is where the new economy, we're talking about AI and machine learning and this new technology. And when they're opening their doors, this is what's really going to be good for their economy. So I think they're very forward looking. And I think that the governments are quite enabling is probably the right word. They do enable this innovation, which is fantastic for innovators like ourselves at eVay.
Yes, absolutely. And, and guys, in Texas is actually a very friendly state to crypto as well. So if you want to run, and a lot of people don't know this, but if you want to run a Bitcoin ATM in almost every other state, I think Florida is also pretty easy, but in most other states, you need to get a money translator license. There's all types of things that you have to do. And in Texas, as long as you're selling your own coins, it's pretty much, you set up the ATM and you sell your own coins out of the ATM, and it's pretty easy. Now, if you're going to go through an exchange and everything like that, there's obviously some regulations, but it's very crypto friendly. And as we know, fourth largest, depending on who you talk to, between the fourth largest and the 11th largest economy in the world in Texas. So, and Texas, the Wild West, right? I mean, it's a very free state, and so you guys should take advantage of that. So, as we there's a lot going on. Obviously, Matt Dixon is with eVay. That's EVAI.io. They have a artificial intelligence rating platform that rates different assets. Obviously, Matt as well is a longtime trader and very successful at it. So, Matt, what are you seeing?
From a trading perspective, I do lots of different things. So I look at individual tokens, and what I want to do today is just change the scene a little bit and look at the fundamentals behind. Because as I said before on another show, crypto is not just some magical asset which performs in some unpredictable way. Crypto is also governed by the normal laws of economics and macroeconomics and geopolitics and everything. So I just wanted to take a look back behind the scenes at the bigger picture, and I'll share my screen once again if that's okay. I think this should hopefully. Let's just see. We had a bit of a problem with this yesterday, but let's just see. I guess it's not sharing just at the moment. So, oh, sorry. I think I've got it now. That may possibly show my screen. Does that show a screen or not?
Not yet.
Okay. Let me go back to Chrome. The problem is I've got this running on Chrome. But anyway, I'll just have another go. resharing. But what I wanted to talk about anyway, what I will talk about while I'm just trying to set this up, is the wider economy. So we're talking about the US economy. So they say when the US sneezes, the world catches a cold. And that just shows how important the US is in the driving the world economy. So whether or not we're actually able to share this screen, I do hope we are. But if we're not, which I think we actually are at the moment.
There you are.
Yeah.
All right, here we go.
Okay, so let me start. It doesn't matter what order I go in, but this is very important. What we're looking at here is just something I pulled up from Statista on the internet, and looking at the Treasury yield curve. And as I say, the US is the big driver of the world economy. The US is the world reserve currency. And so people are always talking about the demise of the dollar, et cetera, et cetera. That's not going to happen for some time yet. And actually, I may even just flip onto another chart just to show the long-term what's happening with the US dollar. And it's still in a long-term rising trend since the financial crisis of 2008, 2009. But I wanted to focus here on the Treasury yield curve. Now, what is important about this? Normally, what I would call a healthy yield curve rises from the bottom left to the top right. The reason for that is, and this is looking at different durations of Treasury, basically, from 1 month to 30 year. Normally, when you lend money over a long period of time, you charge a higher interest rate. And that's why normally it would be bottom left to top right. So as you move to the right with longer duration treasuries, the interest rate would normally be higher. But there are some instances, and again, I won't show the chart now, but there are some instances when we get what's called the inversion of the yield curve. So effectively, that means back to front or upside down, where you see the higher yields in the short-term bonds, and that we can see that on the left, the 1 month at 5.57%, and then a lower yield for the long-term treasury, 30-year, which is very unusual. But what it means is that they're not very confident about the economy, and they're thinking that interest rates are going to have to lower dramatically in the future to keep the economy moving. So that means there's a real lack of confidence. And what this does, it actually shows beforehand that recession is highly likely to be on the way. In almost, I think it's about 95% of the cases, this has been predictive. So when you see an inverted yield curve, about 6 months later, you then see recession coming. So that's just a little bit of a warning that recession probably is coming. So let's just take a look at a couple of the charts here. So this is looking at the inflation rate in the US, and we can see that it has fallen dramatically, but quite interestingly, we can see how the inflation rate grew and absolutely rocketed from April, May 2020 right up to 2022. And then as they raised rates, it started falling. So we can see the inflation rate is beginning to come under control, but that's actually showing kind of the speed of the economy. So the economy is beginning to slow. We can see that from inflation. But what we have seen is, in order to try to get the economy under control, the Fed have raised rates. In fact, I'll just jump next to the Fed funds rate. And we just mentioned that time from April, May 2020 through to 2022. And we saw that it was actually negative or virtually zero interest rates at that time. And that's when inflation was really taking off. So I think they're a little bit late to the party raising interest rates. So the Fed were a little bit slow here, but they started to raise rates and it has had an effect. And what it does, when they raise rates, it actually withdraws money from the economy. And this is basically looking at money supply. It's effectively the money that's flowing through the economy. And we can see that money supply beginning to diminish. And this is, again, aligns with that chart we showed about the inverted bond yield. The economy is beginning to slow, but we do still have some concerns there. And the concerns are potentially that inflation is still sticky. We saw inflation there. If we just go back to it, it's still at 3.1%. And actually, I think the real rate, as we discussed in the previous show, is much, much higher than that. But even if you go on the headline rate that they're talking about, 3.1%, that is actually 55% higher than the 2% that is their target rate. So inflation's still sky high. But then let's just think about what are the risks. And this is the final chart I'll show you. I won't go on too much, but I want to look at the risks, basically. I think the risks are being underplayed because there's a lot of potential risks out there for inflation, because we've got the Panama Canal being blocked. We've got the Red Sea being blocked. 50%, around 50% of world cargo goes through those two straits. So, potentially, if there's any blockage there, and we're talking about maybe February time, so not too far ahead, we could see some big problems feeding through to inflation. If you get a supply shock, it means that the price of goods goes up, and then we see inflation going higher. And the Fed, basically, the Fed have already signaled that they're going to be dropping rates this coming year, and they're talking about maybe 6 times. So this is the Goldilocks scenario. All the economists and fund managers are thinking everything's going to be great with dropping rates. But I'm just telling you, there are risks to the upside on interest rates. And one of the risks is these geopolitical factors, which are not being factored in. And this is showing the corporate attention to geopolitics. See the purple line here going down and down and down, whereas the actual risk, the geopolitical risk, going up and up and up. And so there's a bit of a divergence there. So they're not factoring the risk. So I'm just saying, Bruce, David, and just say, and everybody who's listening, by all means, trade as though things are going to be great, but just keep in mind the risks that are out there. Because 2024, we just heard about the Kim Jong-il, is it? Or I forget the name, then Kim Jong-un, threatening war. He's always been threatening stuff. They always are out there. But there's a lot of other risks with China and Taiwan, risks with Israel and the neighboring countries there, risks in Ukraine, Russia. And these are not being factored in. They just think everything's going to be great. But I think 2024 just potentially is probably going to be the most turbulent year that we've had for many, many years, from both the economic perspective and the geopolitical perspective. So all I'm saying is don't panic, but just be aware of the risks, diversify. And again, that's something we do at eVay. We have what we call the efficient portfolio, which looks at the most efficient dispersion of assets within a portfolio to give you the very best returns for the risk that you take. So that's something we do at eVay. But every investor, they need to take into account risks. And all I'm saying is, I don't think they are. So I don't know what you have to think about that, Bruce, but I don't think the risks are factored in.
Yeah, it's really good point, because that's for the last year, as Bitcoin was rising and other commodities rising. I mean, Bitcoin went down to what, 17K. I was expecting maybe it would go to 12, and it didn't. Of course, CZ came in and he bought like $2 billion worth or something like that, and that ended up being the bottom. CZ is Xin Xiaoping, the former, I guess, CEO of Binance. So just for people that don't know. But I would tell my friends, they go, oh yeah, people are just, it's turning around. And I'm like, yeah, but look at what's going on in the Ukraine. One nuke, we're one nuclear drop away from this whole thing collapsing, and it does feel stronger now. I will have to say that, because I feel like more people are realizing that the dollar may not be, or fiat currency in general may not be the best place to go. And if things do hit the fan, you're going to want other options and you want to diversify. So I do feel like it's stronger now than it was earlier in the year. But at the same time, yeah, of course, and especially if you're in a highly leveraged position, you might want to make sure you want to make sure you have stop losses. As you were saying yesterday, actually, this trading strategy, it can be a little tricky, especially in these platforms that we have now, because it's not really a regulated market per se. So you feel like if you set your stop losses, they almost always hit it. It's like you set your stop losses, and I don't know, it just seems like they always tend to hit it. But if you don't have those stop losses set, then of course it can be rough. I do think that this year, 2024, is going to be, as you say, the most turbulent year than we've had in decades, and it's a scary thought, really.
Yeah. You know what you're saying about stop losses? Obviously, it's really important. I'm not really pushing this at this stage, but it's something that people might want to consider. I think education is key when it comes to trading. Trading isn't just something that you're a natural. It's something that takes a lot of learning, academic application, theory, and practice. And we run a course. It's learnhowtotrade.club. There's a course there teaching people how to trade. And you're talking about stop losses. Yes, people normally get their stop losses hit just because they don't know exactly how to place and where to place the stop losses. It's not just an arbitrary 20 points away, 50 points away, whatever it is. It's not arbitrary. There's actually science behind it, knowing exactly where to place. And we just looked, I won't pull it up again, but we just looked at a long-term trend for the US dollar. And that is pretty much within trend lines. And those trend lines are a very good place to put your stop losses, just outside some trend lines. So you can follow that really nicely. The US dollar is looking as though it's still on an upward trajectory. And so that means that potentially there's more risk in the market. So whilst we're pretty much in the middle of that trend at the moment, I think the risk for the US dollar is higher. We're always hearing these doomsayers, whatever you like to call them, saying that the US dollar is doomed. But as I say, it's the world reserve currency. There's nothing going to happen, I don't believe, with the US dollar for the time being. When any trouble hits the world, all the money flows into the US dollar. The only risks to that, I would say, are potentially right now, possibly Japan, because Japan still have zero interest rates or negative interest rates. They're the one major world economy that's kept these negative rates. Now, if they do raise rates in Japan, then money may flow, some money may flow out of the US dollar into the Japanese yen. But that's really the only risk that I currently see for the US dollar. I think in general, if we see geopolitical risk picking up, that's the main risk I see. But even, as I say, they've factored in 6 rate cuts for the next year for the US. Now, that is basically their expectation for the time being. If that expectation is not met, and don't forget, that is factored into the market now. That's why we're seeing a bit of weakness in the US dollar recently, because of that expectation. But if that expectation isn't met, we're going to see stronger US dollar. And this is basically it's going to probably hit risk assets because there's an inverse correlation there. So these are the things that I look at when I'm trading. It's not just the asset itself, but it's the environment, the trading environment around it that drives those assets. And crypto's only been around really since 2009 when Bitcoin was born. But we can look at other assets. We can look at relationships, the pound against the dollar from back in the 70s when the dollar depegged, from gold. We can look at those long-term relationships and we can see how they work. And then we can actually apply that to crypto, which is inversely correlated. And we can draw conclusions which actually are helpful to us as traders.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's all, it's like you were, as you always talk about, everything, even if it's surprising, even if you don't know why, the charts almost always make sense. They almost always make sense, right? It's like, even if it's like a black swan event that makes the chart make sense, somehow it always works. I mean, what's your thoughts? Why do you think that is?
It's quite amazing, isn't it? That there is obviously some control going on behind the scenes. So I actually did a master's degree, and part of my main area of study for my thesis was actually looking at the factors which do affect the market and those which don't. And I say, funnily enough, most of the factors that people rely on, the technical indicators, the normal technical indicators, moving averages, Bollinger Bands, all these typical TA indicators, they actually, from my research, and actually from the research I uncovered from Nobel Prize winners and research going back many, many years, shows that these TA indicators have zero predictive value. You cannot predict the market from them. But there are some factors which you can predict the market with. And the biggest factor of all, of course, that you can predict the market with is inside information, which is, strictly speaking, that's illegal. But we know that market makers and whales actually have inside information. Market makers in particular, they can see what trades are going on behind the scene. It's like playing cards with them. You're playing poker with them, but they can see your hand. And you talked a moment ago about your stop loss getting hit. Of course it gets hit because they can see where your stop loss is.
Of course.
But don't follow the crowd. Don't be with the crowd putting your stop loss where everyone else puts theirs, because they're going to move the prices. They can, if it costs them $1 million to move the price to gain $2 million, they're going to do it.
Right.
So they can see if you react like the crowd, you'll be hit like the crowd. 95% of retail traders lose money. Why? Because they react all the same way. And the market makers can see what they're doing. They're playing cards against you. They can see your hand. And, you guys are better poker players than me. I remember we had a bit of fun one time and you wiped me out. I'm not a poker player, but, if you can see somebody's hand, you've got a big advantage. And that's the situation with market makers and even with whales. Whales can move the market. And we see that within crypto. A lot of crypto is still a liquid market. We've got pretty good liquidity in Bitcoin, Ethereum, but even there, sometimes you have liquidity issues and people can move markets. Whales can move markets. We can see that. The advantage we've got with crypto is we've got on-chain metrics. So we can see when there's sometimes some big movements going on. And that's, again, what we do at eBay. We don't just look at TA indicators. We look at the fundamentals. We look at the socials that actually drive price action. And we look at on-chain movements as well that drive price action. And these are things that aren't readily available to the retail public, but we're making them available. So this is institutional grade information in the hands of normal retail traders. So yeah, people can, just to come back to your original point, people can, I'm always getting carried away with these things, but getting back to the original point, the markets are predictable to some extent because they're driven by the big players. And if we can understand how the big players are thinking, then we can better understand why the market is going where it's going, and we have a much better chance of making money.
Well, there you have it. And it is so true. One of the things about blockchain technology is, yes, it is a public ledger technology. And it's one of the things, of course, people go back and forth on it. And there are ways to use it anonymously. But you do have to know what you're doing. But there are ways to use it anonymously for the most part, especially the older blockchains. Actually, all of them. But in general, you can see the money move. And so, even you have like the whale alert on Twitter or X, right? And, it's so funny now. It's big money, moves, 2 billion moves here, 500 million just got moved this way. And it tells you where to go too. So, 1 billion in Bitcoin just moved to, the top, 2 exchanges. Well, guys, that, things are probably about to go down. And so you can use that to help you out. So that's evai.io, evai.io. Matt is joining us every morning here from around the world where he is. We're live in Texas and, of course, on Crypto Cake on YouTube, as well as my Twitter is Networks Manager. David is Sir David Porter. Matt is MD Trade. So we're live across all of these different platforms as well. But really, really good information. These are confusing times for people. They don't know where to put their money or how to do it. Now, as far as on the platform on eBay, does it recommend like certain places to trade or how does that work?
We try to remain completely independent. So we're thinking, we've got to try and retain independence because the whole point, the original ethos behind setting eBay up was the corruption behind the ratings agencies that caused misallocation of assets and the financial crash of 2008-9. So we wanted to be completely unbiased, but we're partnered with one of the leading blockchain security companies in the world. I don't think it's a problem mentioning their name. It's Hacken. Hacken provide a lot of the on-chain data that you just mentioned. So they provide a lot of that data to us, and they actually have an exchange rating, which we actually just reproduce that on our platform. So you can look at exchange ratings, you can look at the potential risks there. And interestingly, they highlighted potential risks with Binance long before there was any issue with CZ that you just mentioned. You can look at the on-chain metrics and the risks, and that's what they're good at. As I say, they're one of the leading blockchain security companies in the world. They're partnered with us, so you can access that information for free on eBay. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to empower normal people, retail traders, with institutional grade information, because this hasn't traditionally been available. And this is why retailers have been at a disadvantage. And that's why I love this show, because again, you're just giving people the facts, enabling them to make their own decisions. Obviously, they still do their own DD, make their own decisions, but you're just giving them the hard facts to help them make the right decisions, not forcing them, but just giving them the information. And that's what it's all about. But I'm going to have to leave you guys because I've got another appointment just coming up. Just want to check. Are we on for Christmas Day as well?
We are on for Christmas Day. If you do want to bow out, or if you had too much Christmas cider or eggnog, just let me know. I think we may play a couple of different interviews and stuff like that. We can put the show together. What are your thoughts?
For me, I'm, give it a short one for Christmas Day, but I think every day is important. Who knows what's going to happen on Christmas Day?
Well, this is what I think as well. I mean, my wife is giving me a hard time about it, but I'm like, honey, we're doing a daily show. Okay, it's a daily show. That's the deal. So that's how I feel about it. And we're doing this one. This season is 90 days, just so you know. And Matt and I have known each other for years, but we just kind of hopped into this one together. And then we can do the next seasons as we see fit.
Anyway, thanks for having me. Good to see you all, and catch up tomorrow. Take care, guys.
Thank you, Matt.
Bruce. Bye for now.
Thank you, Matt. Bye. All right.
So don't have too much eggnog on Christmas, okay? I think that's
yeah.
too early. 5 a.m. in the morning on Christmas morning, you shouldn't be drunk on eggnog, okay?
How about Bailey's or some coquito?
I think you put the Baileys in the eggnog, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, I think so. I don't know. My wife likes the eggnog, but she doesn't really drink that much anymore. My wife became a saint after we had kids. Before we had kids, she wasn't a saint. After we had kids, I don't know. She was a saint. She's been a saint ever since. So, which is a good thing. That's what you want for your wife, right?
Of course.
Yes.
I'm gonna play the Impact promo.
Yeah, we can play the Impact promo. I also wanted to have a little bit of fun today and play like our old. I wanted to play the ice.
Okay, there you go. Yeah, you have something lined up.
Yeah, kind of. But we're gonna chew the stuff for a minute here. Yeah, it's pretty interesting. And I also wanted to point out is that we just got invited as guys. We're here working right all the time, and that's what I tell people too. When you talk about doing stuff every day, right? I mean, it's a lot, right? I'm up at 5 in the morning every morning, and it's easier for you guys over in Europe, but it is a commitment. Of course, I'm at a point in my life where that's fine. In my 20s, that wouldn't have been fine. I might have still been all right. I'm just gonna stay up. I'm gonna stay up. Be in that phase, but now at this point in my life, it works out. But it's important, I think, to have consistency. And when you have consistency, you can really build something that's really special. So tomorrow, if it works out, I was going to have him on today. We're going to have Drunken Monkey, the Drunken Monkey NFT Club. Okay. So we're talking about all this serious stuff, but I also want to bring in some fun stuff. The NFTs have been something that's really fun. We're also lining up our historical event, the Washington Elite AI Blockchain Summit, and our charity gala right around NFT NYC in New York. Again, this is going to be a really, really fun event. Not set in stone yet. Okay, it's not set in stone yet, but we're putting it together, and that's what we're tracking. We have not done a conference in a couple of years, David, but I think with what we have going on in the world, it just makes sense.
Absolutely. We built a vast network. We know many projects personally, and what we learned over the last year, I think we're really going to be able to pull off a nice event.
Well, it's fun too because one of the things people tell me is, Bruce, you're the first guy that ever put me on stage, and that's a fun thing, right? Be the first guy to put people on stage. It's like being interviewed. If you're interviewed by somebody or someone interviews you, you never forget that moment, right? You sit there in the hot seat and you talk to that person, especially if you're live. But anyway, if you're interviewed, period, as it's being recorded, but you sit there live and you're in the hot seat, and you never forget that moment. And that's how, David, you and I met a lot of people over the years. And so do you know the Porter Brothers? Well, yeah, of course I know the Porter Brothers. Yeah, they were all right. They weren't mean as we did this. So anyway, first thing I wanted to tell you, so we just got invited as a media partnership for the Wiki Finance Expo in Hong Kong. And that is May 24 in 2024. Hong Kong.
There you go.
I can't wait. I am like a sucker for places I haven't been, and Hong Kong is one of those places.
Nice.
One of the ways that we got started, early on is by doing these funny skits. And Yeah, we did a lot of these funny, fun skits, and I'm gonna play at least one of them. I'm gonna play a couple of them, but this is like, when in the early days of crypto, in the early days of Bitcoin, the guys with lots of Bitcoins weren't always nice to everybody. It was kind of a funny situation. Look, and this guy's smarter than me, and a lot of really smart people. There's a lot of really smart people in finance, a lot of really smart people in crypto, and they weren't always nice to people. And anyway, one of the things that we would do is we would do these skits, and they were a lot of fun. So this one right here, this is actually David and I, and you're watching Money in the Morning, Impact.live, Money in the Morning, just to give a shout out to us as well. This is our third show, so we are still, of course, working through some of the stuff, getting our thing down. But I'm going to show you. This is one of our skits here that we did. I am in Litecoin, and David is in Bitcoin. I'm going to share my screen here. Bruce Porter, boom. It's this one. Okay, you got me, right?
Yep.
Hear the excitement of the crowd behind me. Oh, as like. Now we go live to the first ever Washington Elite Coin Skating Invitational, where Bitcoin and Litecoin have joined forces to demonstrate the power and beauty of sound money. You can hear the excitement of the crowd behind me. Oh, as Litecoin integrates a flawless segregated witness into his routine. We are witnessing history right now, ladies and gentlemen. Bitcoin is building up momentum. He pivots expertly around unnecessary regulations. And now it looks like, yes, they are going to do the first ever atomic ISWAP. Can they pull this off? Yes! At least one of our judges likes it. Let's see what scores we have. A 6, another 6. A perfect score for Bitcoin and Litecoin.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
It still cracks me up, man. It still cracks me up. I laugh and I smile every time. It's been pinned to my my X page, my Twitter page, for years. You can see 2018, right? So this was it was for the first or the second or whatever Washington Elite AI blockchain summit that we ran. Once COVID hit, we kind of stopped doing it. Of course, they shut everything down pretty much in the US for a while, and then we started going to Dubai all the time. We were regulars over there, but Dubai pretty much stayed open. They closed for a month or two. But yeah, it's really funny. I'm gonna play it one more time. It's also a very historical piece, to be completely frank. Bitcoin and Litecoin. Charlie Lee, the founder of Litecoin, we were in direct contact with him. Of course, we're I wouldn't say we're friends, but we're certainly friendly. We like each other, and he supported us for this event as well. So I'm gonna play that one more time just for fun. And we did the first ever atomic ISWAP.
Yeah.
Which atomic swaps in crypto are coin to coin trades. So I'm gonna do that one more time. Here we go.
Now we go live to the first ever Washington Elite Coin Skating Invitational, where Bitcoin and Litecoin have joined forces to demonstrate the power and beauty of sound money. You can hear the excitement of the crowd behind me. Oh, as Litecoin integrates a flawless segregated witness into his routine. We are witnessing history right now, ladies and gentlemen. Bitcoin is building up momentum. He pivots expertly around unnecessary regulations. And now it looks like, yes, they are going to do the first ever atomic ISWAP. Can they pull this off? Yes! At least one of our judges likes it. Let's see what scores we have. A 6, another 6. A perfect score for Bitcoin and Litecoin.
Well done.
Oh man, that's good. That's good. Some of the stuff we've done. I mean, we have a lot of other crazy stuff. We took make the money. That's right. That's what we're doing, brother. There's a lot of stuff that we've done over the years, and I think that's what it's one of the ways that we've really just connected with people. And actually, X, Twitter, has been our favorite platform over the years, and it's one of the reasons why you can just kind of do anything, connect with everybody, and everyone likes that. So you can follow David. He's Sir David Porter on X. Of course, I'm Networks Manager, and I think I'm going to load up our conversation here as well. Let me switch that. It's going to take me a minute. You have something queued up? I was going to play our AOC interview.
AOC is pretty good.
Yeah. So talk to me, David, about, I know we have our friend with his crypto place there. How's the meetup scene there in Lisbon?
Lisbon is booming. They have a meetup most days of the weeks, and I love to meet with Ruben and his Wednesday chili bang Wednesdays. Fantastic here. It's a good time. Great network, and he does have developers there, so you need to get something done. That's the spot.
Okay, I got it. I'm going to play. This is our kickoff interview that you and I did from the AOC. This is the Information Warfare, Electronic Warfare Conference. And guys, this is our edition, the edition of the Washington Elite Summit that we are going to do in New York City in April. It's going to be the Information Warfare edition. So we'll play this, and I think we'll probably end with that. But good interview here. Share my screen.
Hey, thanks, brother. Welcome, everybody. I know it's been a few months, hasn't it? It's been a few months since we were here. And, guys, that is what bear markets do to you, okay? I mean, in crypto, it's pretty funny because we've been now, David, how many of these? 3, 4 bear markets?
Yep. David Porter, you guys know, been through 3 bear markets.
3 bear markets. We were buying Bitcoins at $70.
$70 is a long way back from where we are now.
It is a long way back. Nice dive we have in the market, as you see here. But, pretty amazing trip that we've been on. And, David is in Blockchain House, Portugal at the moment. I am here live at the AOC, that's Association of Old Pros conference, symposium here. A lot of really cool stuff. And a lot to talk about, really. The world is going crazy. The Houthis, more than likely, just sent in a missile that hit an Israeli ship. And I think it's the first one they've hit, but I'm not sure. The world's on fire. The money's being inflated. It's pretty interesting here last night. I got to tell you, David, we had our reception, the kickoff reception. I don't know how much you can see. Tomorrow, we're going to bring you a lot more interviews and stuff like that. But today, we're just kind of kicking off. Of course, we have our partner Randy Shores here as well as Ryan Bosey. But pretty interesting because the world is at a point right now, and you saw as well too with the interview with what do you have? You had Andrew Tate, you had Alex Jones, and you had Elon Musk there. I mean, these are the men that are saving humanity right now.
That was a special moment. Yeah,
it really was
pretty epic, timeless moment.
It was a timeless moment. And everybody on that space realized what was going on. And those 3 gentlemen, I think more than anybody, I don't know more than anybody, but they knew what an important moment it was.
And I'm glad I got to tune in. I saw you posted it. I was like, oh, wow, is this really live? And it was. I caught it. I caught a good long bit of it. Some solid men talking some real things that are happening to them in front of everybody.
and it's happened to all of us. And you basically have what we have now is the extinctionist, or the people who basically want to kill a lot of humans, right? And then you have the people that want humanity to continue and become an interstellar species, and to become like an interplanetary species. And so it's pretty interesting because, of course, you know, as young boys, I'm sure, and girls, you got a lot of you guys dreamed of going to the stars and going to different places. And that is the dream. That's the future. If you're not going forward, if you're staying in one place, you're actually going backwards. And, you know, David Dad always told us that.
Yeah, he did. Dad had all the wise words all the time. He never stopped telling me either. But it's crazy to listen to someone with the ideology that we need to stop growing and we need to cut back when there's so much life to live. It's unbelievable. And sometimes I see that we're so lucky to even know that we're supposed to push on and not be persuaded by some extreme form of negativity.
And that's exactly what it is, guys. And, you know, Alex Jones has been telling us for years. And to be honest, like, I could hardly watch Alex Jones. I mean, as I was coming up over the last 20, 30 years, and I'm getting old now, but I mean, you know, this guy yelling and ranting and this and that. I mean, even if he was right about a lot of stuff, he was hard for me to watch. And I'm sure he was for a lot of you guys. But it's like when they ban a book, right? Like when they ban a book or something, then you start thinking, well, what is that guy saying? What's in that book? What is he saying? You know, and so now you're going to see really, I mean, Alex Jones is going to into stardom right now. But these are the men that are going to save the world, and we need to help them do it. We are the people actually who are going to save the world. You know, there's 8 billion, 9 billion people out here, and these guys, these elites, and they're, you know, God only knows, they want to cut humanity by like 90% or something. It's unbelievable, guys. It's unbelievable. And instead, and it was actually really interesting what Elon Musk said when Alex Jones asked him. He said, "What is the plan? What is Plan B? Or not what's Plan B, but what's the plan?" And what did Elon say? He said, "Have more kids."
Yeah.
He didn't say, guys. He didn't say go get the guns. He didn't say. He said have more kids. And so it's a pretty interesting statement. We have to grow, and you know, part of growing as well. You think of what we're doing here, and you see here with Global News Media, we're growing as well. You know, we've been longtime partners with a lot of the conferences here in Washington, D.C. and the world. Some of them I'll name. Some of them I can't really name, to be totally honest with you. There's a lot of stuff going on behind here. We're going to bring you interviews, but this symposium is very interesting because there's a lot of electronic warfare equipment, and you know, you have missiles and you have this and that and the other, but information warfare. So I had some really interesting conversations last night during the reception with delegations of countries who I guess I won't mention because I don't want to put them on the spot. Maybe I'll get them on an interview tomorrow. But you know, these are guys that are working for the military for these different countries, and they're talking about the information warfare. The most interesting thing to me, it was very interesting, right? I was like, you know, they're like, you know, who is this guy, you know? But it was one of the most interesting things to me was they would say, well, you know, at least like, you know, we haven't been invaded or this and that and the other. And I would say, but you have. You're invaded by your central bank. Your central bank is calling the shots. And everybody, guys, everybody understood that I was right, and that the central banks are controlling our countries. And it's a crazy situation. Congress is a couple of blocks away from me right now. Actually, I'm in National Harbor, so it's not far from here. but they're being controlled by the central banks, and everybody knows they're being controlled by the central banks. And so that's a pretty crazy situation to be in, and that's the world is awakening, and this moving forward, and how I got into this part of it, this moving forward, and that's what Global Boost and Global Boost Media has done and is doing. 10-year-old company, actually longer, 10-year-old blockchain that we have. We're in our 10th year, now becoming a media company. And David and I have been going around the world speaking and on stages across the world and interviewing people and going live across the world. But now it's part of the next step. Now it's about saving the world, saving humanity, and empowering everybody to use the platform in order to go live and to do these different things and to be uncensored. What we're building right now, and we're using Nostr to build it, what we're building right now is the decentralized platform for everybody to share. We're still going to be on X. We're going to still be sharing and everything else, because this is where everybody is right now, right? But you need a place. We need a place where we can preserve history and preserve media. And that's what we're building now, this second generation of Global Boost. I'm super excited about it.
It's also a streamer's entrepreneurial dream. Like, you can host your own thing on a decentralized process where you're in control.
And you see this setup that we have here. I mean, it's pretty nice. You're in control of it, so that's pretty interesting. So what, right now we're really just kicking off this symposium. I'm pretty excited about it. I mean, I mentioned about the information warfare going on. We've all experienced that. In 2020, many of you were here with me for David was here as well, here for January 6th. And everybody's always worried about that. Oh my gosh, and this and that. I can't believe it, guys. There were millions of people here. I mean, they threw some people in jail. Most of us left as it started to look pretty funny. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they had the whole stir up, but there was millions of people with big hearts and lots of love for what the U.S. America stands for, and it's really the most powerful thing you can do is go and stand for yourself, speak for yourself, and be accountable for yourself.
And this is what I talk about, guys, as well. When I say to come to DC, and people go, "Oh, you're a Fed," blah 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 blah. So it's so funny, right? If you don't want Israel to kill people, then you're pro Hamas, and if you want people to come to DC and protest, you're a Fed. Well, I mean, neither is true, right? You can be against killing innocent people, and you can also come to DC and protest and not be put in those boxes, guys. Listen, I am pro-human. I'm pro-human. I'm pro-life. I'm pro-human. And that's what everybody should be. But yeah, there were millions and millions of people here, and what they did was they scared everybody. But right now in Washington, you have no representation, and I say this on X in different places all the time. You have no representation. Congress does not represent you. They're working for the central bank. The White House is definitely not representing you. God only even knows how that guy got in there. Well, we all kind of know, right? And then as well, we have the judicial branch. And the judicial branch is the Supreme Court and the courts are not representing you either. So if you don't come to Washington, D.C., nobody's going to represent you. You need to come here and represent yourself. And that's what I talk about all the time. Now, we'll see. I mean, it's a pretty dicey situation across the world. David, you're in Portugal. How is it over there? We lost audio on you.
Here I am.
There you are.
The political situation here in Portugal, they don't know if they're swinging left-handed or if they're swinging right-handed, or if they want to stay out of it, or if they're highly involved. They had to remove the prime minister, so it's not too stable. But they do have most of the junctures are in place, and it's a beautiful country, absolutely wonderful. Incredible. People are amazing here. They're very homely. Everybody's pretty good. So you have some projects are getting funded and some aren't, and people they have you go back and forth. So I guess the money got thrown somewhere wrong, and they kindly asked the prime minister to step down. They're electing a new one over the next few weeks, and it's going to be a little bit of a change, but it's a very forward-thinking country as far as having your talents. You can bring them to Portugal, and you can really make yourself here. It's really nice place. I'm loving it, man.
It is pretty interesting. I know a lot of people I met there in Lisbon. They come and they get there. They're able to get their passports and stuff like that, and that kind of is a springboard into a number of other things. So pretty interesting. What do they think about? Have any feedback on Milei over in Argentina and what's going on over there?
No, the thing is, when I'm talking to the locals, they respond to me in English, but then they go back to talking to each other in Portuguese. So I'm still dissecting a lot of the situations.
Well, it is interesting. Portugal is one of those places where I've noticed that Portuguese people really like speaking Portuguese. A lot of them speak English, but they really like speaking Portuguese. So pretty interesting stuff. I again, what we have going on right now in the world, and it's going to be pretty interesting. We have, there are a lot of brass here, a lot of different countries that are here representing their different organizations, different military organizations, and how they're handling the information warfare. I think is very, very interesting, and we're going to be able to bring some pretty interesting insights. So, kick off a few minutes here for everybody, just to kind of key in to what's going.
Okay, I just wanted to bring us back here before the top of the hour. Here, the information warfare, and this is kind of why I wanted to play that video. The information warfare is huge. Electronic warfare and information warfare. This is so important to our lives and to your money. Okay, moving forward, and that's why our Washington Elite edition is going to be the information warfare edition. So every Washington Elite AI blockchain summit that we have has an edition, and this will be the information warfare edition, and it is really so important. So we're winding up here on another end of the hour. I want to thank everyone in Texas for joining in Louisiana for joining in, and for joining in around the world. We're doing this every morning, 11 a.m. London time, 5 a.m. in Texas, 6 a.m. on the East Coast, Washington, D.C., New York, 3 p.m. Dubai time. And I think UTC time, it's 11 a.m. I think London is UTC time, but I haven't figured that out yet. Pretty excited about what we have going on, guys, with Global Boost, Media. What is going on, I can tell you, is so exciting. We're testing our Booster app last night. Decentralized, peer-to-peer, encrypted communication. Maybe I'll do a demo of it. I thought about doing a demo of it this morning. I thought, Bruce, don't get ahead of yourself. Let's beat it up a little bit. Really cool stuff, guys. The forefront, the max safety you can get. Web, not some app that you're downloading that's spying on you. Really cool. I mean, we'll probably tease it out here and everything, but yeah, really excited about it. This is our third show, right, David? Third show.
It's our third show, correct.
Tomorrow we finish off the week on Friday, and then we come to you on Christmas morning. We're gonna be live. Love you guys. I'm gonna sign off here. David.
Fantastic. Thank you, Bruce. Signing out.
Your voice is powerful. When combined with social engagement, it's a force for change. Decentralized media paired with free speech is the catalyst for an empowered world and a unified, invaluable ecosystem. Join Global Boost, become a champion of free speech, and help to reshape the future of media.